So I went to the local auction and I got myself a new brush cutter. It's has a AGT sticker on it. So it's I guess AGT is the local supplier, but these are all Top Cat machines. You can see by the tag on it there. But it's good. There's like a supplier or someplace you can go to get parts. So you can go to the AGT website, www.agroTKindustrial.com, and they have all the different models of implements there. So all these implements that are flooding the market, like all those little mini excavators, all the trenchers, all the grapple buckets, all the mowers, all the mulchers, all that, they're majority of them are made by Top Cat or other Chinese manufacturers. So here's the brush cutters. So the model for mine there, it's HFR C72. The next one up is HCR C72, and then it has all the specs below it there. So this one here that I got, it weighs 1,433 pounds. Working pressure is 35 MPa. Have to convert that to PSI. I'm running it on Bobcat T770. That's 3,500 PSI. It could MPa to PSI could be just times 1,000. I don't know. But it also has flow in liters per minute. So for this one, it has 75 to 260 liters per minute. So there's the specs for a T770. So standard flow for a T770 is 23 gallons per minute or 87.1 liters per minute. So that's standard flow, pretty much. If you don't have a machine with high flow, that's probably pretty close to what you got. And then this machine, the one I got, also has high flow, so the optional flow is 36.5 gallons per minute and 138.2 liters per minute. So that's well within the spec of the cutter here. So it's not over the max and it's not going to go below the minimum. Like, even though it looks exactly the same, it says it has 3 blades and this one is a 4 blade. So maybe this is one of the earlier ones. They came out before they had their heavy duty model, which is this one here, their heavy duty model. So, I don't know. So the specs for this one, says it's a 72-inch heavy duty skid steer brush cutter. So it says you can cut 5-inch to 12-inch. It says 5-inch to 12-inch cut capacity, 4 solid blade. It can cut brush and branches. What about under 5-inch? Is it just from 5 to 12-inch? Maybe they should change that and just say up to 12-inch cut capacity. So 4 bi-directional blades made with 5/8 AR400, half-inch double round blade holder. Yeah, and then there they have your manuals. So you can purchase blades. You can download the manual. You can download the part diagram, and it actually has it in English. So you download the manual. There's the manual there. It has the Chinese version that's there, and below it you got the English version. So and it gives you all the different parts, and you should be able to order all the parts through AGT. You know, so it's very cool to have the support like that. It's not just the Chinese companies shipping all these here. You actually got some support for it now. Whereas I think in the beginning, you know, you're kind of out of luck when it comes to finding parts or repairing it. You got to make everything yourself. Some guys they don't put oil in it when they start it up, and then they burn the bearing out and other things like that. So you can order bearings for it. Yeah, you can order. It's pretty simple. I'll take the cover off and I'll show you what you got to do to get it ready. The hydraulic fittings, you know, they pop right in. You know, there's no problem there. It's the right type fittings. no problems there. It does come dry. There's no hydraulic oil in it. It's just been assembled and then shipped here. They don't fill it full of oil and then give it a test run, I guess. So you got to put oil in it before you start it up. And then also check the oil in your machine because it's bone dry. So as soon as you start pumping oil through it, the level in your machine is going to go way down. So you'll have to add oil to your machine as well. What else? So yeah, it's pretty much just that. So add hydraulic oil and then add oil to the bearings. There's the casing there holds oil to lubricate the bearings. And it calls for 80W90. And it tells you to put 80W90 in it. It doesn't like give any kind of procedure and all the things you got to do when you first get the machine. At least I haven't found it. It just says gear oil 80W90 lubricant. So anyway, so it comes dry. It hasn't been greased. It hasn't been oiled. It just the parts are assembled and that's it. It's shipped out the door. So once you've checked all the oil in it, make sure the bolts on the blades are tight, torqued to spec. I noticed the carrier for it. It doesn't really sit flat in the carrier. I'll lift it up. I'll show you what I mean. See, like if you look at the mount there, it's wedged in there, and then it just stops. So you see the pins for the quick attach is what's holding it in there. You see how this side is kind of bent? When it wedged in there, it pried it up because it's not sitting flat. The quick attach is a little bit too small for the Bobcat quick attach, or the quick attach plate that's mounted on this mower is a little bit too small for the Bobcat quick attach. I mean, it's possible that after I've been using the machine for a while, it'll separate and wear in, and then it'll make contact on the bottom there. So there's the blades there. Don't know. 8.8. That's not a very heavy duty bolt. You know, I figure, what is it, 10.9 or something equivalent to that is a grade 8 fastener. You think they'd have some heavy duty fasteners on there. So it might be a good idea to just upgrade those bolts before you start mowing with it. Yeah, I don't know. The strength of those bolts is just like a standard fastener, like a grade 5, like you know, where the 3 lines on the back of the bolt head, probably just a little bit more than that. So I don't know, like this thing spins pretty fast, and that's like a 10-pound piece of steel. So I'd hate to have that bolt snap and that come flying out the front or out the side or out the back. Like, you know, say you're back dragging a log or something, and then that bolt snaps and the blade comes flying up here. You know, the plexiglass door isn't going to stop that. It's not tight, but it's got that cotter pin in there. I took the cotter pin out of there. Yeah, it's not very tight at all. So that's why this one had more play than this one did. So this one is tighter than this one was, so I don't know. Like, So the bolts for the big plate seem all tight. It's just the bolts for the blade that might be a little bit loose. So I think what I'll do is I'll pull that bolt out and I'll get 4 nice grade 8 fasteners with locking nuts, and also drill a hole through the bolt so I can get a cotter pin in it. You know, just to be on the safe side. Because that's a pretty light duty bolt and a light duty nut. Like there's not even any weight to that. And that's holding, well, I shouldn't say this is holding the blade. It's holding the blade on, but the blade is actually riding on that collar there. So it's not, the bolt is holding it on, but it's not, it's not taking all the stress from the blade turning around. So maybe these bolts can be the lighter duty bolts that they are, but that nut on there, that nut is like a non-graded bolt. Like you ever get those bolts with cheap stuff, like from China, and then the bolt will just snap or the nut will just strip out. This is one of those kind of nuts. So personal preference, it's up to you. That's a whole lot of heavy blade on there. I'm gonna upgrade this bolt and nut with a lock nut, and then I'm also going to drill a hole through it, put a cotter pin in it, and that'll satisfy my worries about a blade flying off this thing. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry about the light. See it? It's bigger, but it's not much bigger. You know, it's possible that this washer can get wore out. Yeah, that's probably what would happen if you lose a blade. You see where the washer was riding on there? That's all that's holding it on there. So if you hit a big rock or something, and then this washer gets deformed, then you know, it's possible that thing get wore out and then pop off or get pulled through the center of the blade. You know, just get deformed and pulled right through there with the bolt. Or the bolt breaks off. Yeah, so anyway, it could use some upgrade of fasteners. Okay, so here's my grade 8 bolt. I drilled the hole in it for the cotter pin. And I got a little bit bigger washer just to help that washer out, to give it a bigger footprint on the blade so it doesn't deform, or at least I can look at it and go, hey, it's kind of eating into that washer. Maybe it's time to change it instead of it wearing this one out and the blade almost popping out, because that washer is barely holding the blade on there. Like it's only grabbing on like 1/8 of an inch on the edge all the way around. And when this blade gets wore out, it's going to be grabbing on even less. You know, it'll be like that. You know, where there's a gap in there. You know, kind of thing anyway. So a little bit bigger washer. I'm going to go to the bolt supply place and see what I can find there. And yeah, and bolt in there. But for now, maybe I can do 1 or 2 jobs with it and just keep an eye on it. But keep it from wearing out. I mean, there's no wear parts in here. Like if this had a brass collar or something. Like when this blade wears out, this blade is probably harder material than this collar is, or they're the same or something. I don't know. But some grease in there is probably good, then it doesn't wear your collar out as quick. Because if that is wore out, you have to grind it off and put a new one in, and then that's just one more part you got to make for yourself. I don't know if if they supply those from the AGT website. I think it's just, it counts that as one whole part. Okay, I got the bolt back in there with the larger washer. My bolt wasn't quite long enough either for the lock nut. Like the locking nut I was going to use in there, I was going to use one of these locking nuts, and then plus the cotter pin that's on there. Because who knows how long that cotter pin is going to stay intact there, especially with this thing spinning around. You know, maybe you're cutting branches and stuff like that, and they're going above the big square plate as well. So it's probably gonna get rid of that cotter pin pretty quick. So it'd be good to have a locking nut on there. Also, the Teflon locking nut is probably not the best locking nut for it. Like this locking nut is held on by that Teflon insert. They do have locking nuts that are held on by a metal insert, like a soft metal, and that'll probably stand up to a lot more than this. This is probably not going to come off, but the metal ones are the nut with the end that is a little bit deformed. So when you put it on, it always goes on tight, and it comes off tight as well. But that's probably the best style nut, is a metal locking nut. I'll do the other three when I get some longer bolts. I'll go to the supplier, see if they have some kind of fancy thick washers that are bigger, and I'll get a bolt that's about 1 inch longer, and then I can use the locking nut and still put a cotter pin in it, even though that cotter pin's probably going to get you know, pulled out of there pretty quick or broken off. So that bolt and definitely that nut are not the best bolt to be in there. Do what you want with yours. I'm changing mine out. Six bolts, 3 on either side. 3 on either side, and then the cover will come off, and then it's just your pump will be sitting in there, and to be a plug or a grease cert on the bottom. So I'll pull that cover off. If you're wondering what that happy face is, when I was bidding on this, there's 2 of these. So there's one, it was in the pallet all pristine, and then there's another one. It was in it looked like it got dropped. The pallet was all bent out of shape, and it was kind of like sitting sideways in the pallet. But it's still like brand new, so I figured I could get a deal by bidding on the one that looked like it was beat up. So I bid on the one that was looking like it was beat up, and so the guys at the yard drew that on there. So I guess they dropped it and drew the happy face on there, I'm guessing. But it does have a little bit of a dent. Nothing really noteworthy, just the end is a little bit bent that way and it's bent in a little bit. Like, no big deal. But that is a way you can get a deal. You know, it's all about perception. So if there's sometimes things go for more than what they're worth. Sometimes they go for less. Like when you're bidding at something at an auction, you got to look for the prettier one will always go for more money. Because most of the people don't go there and look at what they're bidding on before they buy it. They just like look at the picture and then bid on it. So if it's got a really bad picture, it could be 2 exact same machines. So one machine here, one machine there. And one, the picture was taken like with the sun shining and you can't really see the machine well, and it, you know, doesn't look well. And then the one beside it, you know, is at the right angle and it's clean and, you know, less scratches and, you know, but this one could have a brand new engine in it, and then that one could be wore out, and then they'll bid on the nicer looking one than they will bid on the other one. So it's important to go to the yard and look, but sometimes you get a deal just by buying the one that doesn't look that good at the picture. So it's always good to walk around the yard. You can get yourself a better deal that way sometimes. And they're just 1/2 inch bolts. and there's no lock washers on them. So you might want to throw a lock washer on here, and then they won't vibrate loose while you're using the machine. There we go. There's a large pump. Looks like it's kind of cockeyed, not that it matters, but it's kind of sitting like that. I guess that's just how everything went together. But there's the tag, and I bet you that tag says oil me. After installation, fill this place with hydraulic oil before operation. So fill this place. So take that fitting off and fill it up full of oil, and should be good to go. I guess they want you to lubricate it before it starts spinning, because it's probably bone dry. And then there's a grease fitting here on the front, and then there's a plug at the back here. So I guess pull that plug off, and gonna need a little hose to go in there and fill it full of oil. So here's your hydraulic motor, here's your hub, and then there's the flange where it bolts onto the mower body, I guess you could say. So there's a bearing on the bottom, and then there's a bearing on the top here, and then the oil in there keeps them both lubricated. And that's it. That's it. Motor, bearing assembly, flange, housing, blade, hydraulic lines, and that's it. So it says to fill it with ADW90 gear oil. So gear oil will go in the housing. Whatever hydraulic oil your machine uses, put in there, because you'll be using it for your machine. So if your machine takes some kind of special hydraulic oil, use the same kind of special hydraulic oil in there. So here's the back of the housing with the bolt to fill it with oil. It's a 15 millimeter. So we'll just take that out of there. Oh yeah, it's the filler, and it's also a vent. Yeah, because when gear oil gets hot, it also vents gas a little bit. So that's not only your filler bolt, it's also a vent bolt. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 90 elbow on there. So I'm going to come out with a 90. I found a 90-degree elbow I can throw into the side of the casing there. There we go. I just needed to stick that elbow in there. Then that one on there. Throw that one on there. And then I have a filler. I can just pour oil in there. It's also possibly that this is a number 11 or 11 millimeter or 7/16. Yeah, it looks to be. It's probably a number 10. Yeah, number 10. Okay, so there's the hole for the air to escape. I should be able to just pour gear oil in there. Here's my gear oil. I have some Lucas heavy duty oil stabilizer. That works great for manual transmissions, rear ends, engine oil. It's great stuff. I could throw some of that in there, or hub oil. And that'd be for the front hubs on a heavy truck or a trailer. You know, like right here. See right in there, you pull that rubber cap off, and then you fill that full of hub oil. So Hub oil is gear oil, but it has a whole whack of more additives in there and can handle can handle heavier pressures than gear oil. If you put just straight gear oil in your wet axle, the bearing will go in it because it's under a lot of load. It always has that weight on it, like a lot of weight. So hub oil in applications such as this will probably extend the bearing life in there quite a bit also. Okay, so I'm filling it with oil, but it's going in very slowly. See, I got my 90 in there, and then I got a hose, and then I got a larger fitting. I mean, it's going in, but it's going in slow. Oops. No. Okay. There we go. I'll just fill that pipe up and let it drain down overnight. Oh, I'm full. It's coming out my drain. Okay, it's all full. So that took probably about, I want to say 3/4 of a liter to fill that up. So it didn't take a whole lot. So I left the 90-degree fitting in there, and what that'll do is give me a little bit of reassurance that it's not going to spit its oil out of the case when it's spinning, or when it's at an angle, it starts to spit out all the oil. Yeah, because this is the plug that came out of there. It's also a vent, so it vents the gas. Like when the oil heats up, or even when the air in the case gets hot, it expands and it's got to go somewhere, so it'll come out of this vent. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, I don't know, maybe it stops the oil. Maybe when that thing is tilted up, the oil starts coming out of this. I don't know. But anyway, so that 90, whether it's needed or not, gives me a little bit of reassurance that when it's venting, it's just going to be venting out gases and air. And I'm going to make it snug because I don't want it to come loose and all the oil just come right out. And the fitting is kind of jammed on there. You know, like say you go to the hydraulic shop and you get some fittings and stuff. Everything is just at a little bit higher quality than what you'd find on this thing. Like I'm sure it holds pressure and the lines last almost as long, but you know, the metallurgy, the type of steel it is, it just doesn't seem the same. And there's sharp edges everywhere, like that nut was binding. This rubber is destroyed already. Like look at it in there. The seal is gone on it. I don't know. Like maybe they didn't use a high quality rubber for the O-rings, but yeah, look at that O-ring. Focus. Focus. Like that O-ring is already destroyed. You know, and coming apart. My phone's probably not focusing well enough. Yeah, you see that even though it's not focusing, you can tell that O-ring is not in the best shape anymore. And if you look inside the fitting there, you see parts of the O-ring. So yeah, I gotta go find some O-rings now. Okay, I have a little pack of O-rings. I got lucky. I guess I'll have to invest in a O-ring kit. They're not that much, but I haven't needed it until now. Similar. It's a little bit thinner, but it might work. There we go. O-rings on there. Just have to dig the old stuff out of there, which comes out pretty easily. And don't worry if you have to do the same thing and a little piece of rubber fell in there. It won't hurt anything, it'll just get caught in the filter in your machine. I got some hoses here. That should work. This is off of an old motorbike. I'm going to fill it up with this Shell Spearex. This is 10W30 synthetic. And this is multifunctional tractor transmission and hydraulic oil. Depending on what machine you have. Depending on what type of machine you'll be running, it could have a different spec. Some of the older machines specify 10W30 hydraulic oil. This is a Bobcat T770. It has 5 different oil specs for it. It has 2 standard, like 30 weight, 20 weight kind of thing. And then it has 3 different synthetic specs for the temperature ranges. Where's my phone? So if you look on my phone here, 1 and 2, so there's 100 weight and then 46 weight. I don't know. Viscosity, I don't know what VG means, or VI, 130, 150. And then there's the Bobcat oils. So there's Bobcat all-season fluid, Bobcat synthetic fluid, Bobcat biodegradable hydraulic hydrostatic fluid. I guess that's when you're doing a lot of water work. So the Bobcat all-season fluid, it says, so these bottom 3 fluids are good for all range of temperatures. So -40 to plus 49 Celsius. I was doing a little bit of research and I was trying to find a good alternative to that. It turns out it's pretty much just ISO 46. They're saying you can use tractor transmission fluid. And then there's guys saying, well, you don't really even need that because the tractor transmission fluid 46 has the wear or the friction modifiers for the clutch packs and stuff in the transmissions. So you don't really need that. They're saying, oh, it's probably just, they're just bottling the 46 in the Bobcat buckets. I'm just topping it up. I will have to do a flush on it. I'm going to change out the oil because this is a new machine to me. I haven't used it that much. What a person could do also is take the fitting off the end of the line and then put your funnel on the end of the fitting. Like take the fitting off and then stick your funnel in there and then just pour it in there as well. But then you don't know if it's airlocked in the case and if you're actually filling it up. But I think they want you to fill it because it has absolutely no oil in it. It's just like bone dry. So they say put some oil in it before you start spinning it and stuff. You know, because maybe it'll spin just under the air pressure and they don't want you to wear it unnecessarily, or maybe it's just a precaution. Maybe it doesn't really matter. You just turn the hydraulics on and it'll spin a little bit till it gets the fluid and then done. You know, then it's got fluid in it. So I don't know, but that's what they recommend, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm making a mess again. And it's airlocked, so it's burping as it's going down, and it's going down slowly. Seems like it's working. Only time will tell. So I already did a test connect to the lines. All of them go on except for this little one here. For whatever reason, it's a little bit snug. I'll have to use 2 hands to do that one. There we go. Tiny sucker. Just the case drain. Okay, so, and when they say case drain, well, it's the case drain on the motor there. So that's whatever goes past. So I guess there's some slop in there. So, you know, you get pressure going through, and then whatever goes past the pump motor. So pressure going through, and then whatever goes past as it's doing its work drains into the case, or goes past like the motor, the gears in the motor. This one might be a piston pump style, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure, where it pressures up and pushes a piston down, or some kind of wobbly wheel thing. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but I thought I read somewhere some kind of piston pump thing. But anyway, when it's doing its work, some hydraulic oil gets past the motor, and then it goes into the outer side of the casing, and then that drains back into the machine. So that's what they mean by case drain.